Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I know you know that, but please permit me to just sit here and be grateful for the fact that I get to sit here in this chair. Folks, been amazing. I love every one of you, and thank you so much for all of your just unwavering support over the years. As we, move forward into, the new year coming up, we have a lot of new things coming, and I'm really excited. But none of it would be happening or even being thought of if it wasn't for all of you. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate you folks, and let's get going into this quick little solo episode where, I just wanted to have a little cup of coffee with you guys and, have a conversation, a little coffee talk with the Power Man Podcast, if you will. Good stuff right there. Um, Folks, I wanted to share a little musing with you today, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. Really, really would. So please don't hesitate to contact me after this one and send me some DMs and let's hear what you guys have to say. Uh, has anybody else noticed that none of us, it seems like, um, care anymore about how we are perceived? None of us care anymore about the impression that we make. A lot of men have really just adopted this, I don't give a darn attitude. I don't care what they think. I'm not trying to impress anybody, blah, 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 right? Um, I mean, back in my day, we wore suits, we wore ties, we shined our shoes, you know? When I was coming up, I mean, I even shined my belt buckle. We wore cufflinks. We cared like a lot about our appearance and the way we were perceived. And back then, none of us thought it was odd because it was normal for a man to want to present himself to the world as successful, as credible, and your appearance mattered. If you looked sloppy, people figured you were sloppy, right? Um, if you went to a job interview and you didn't have on a coat and a tie, well, the interviewer thought that that was disrespectful. Am I right? I I remember working with one of my sons who was on his way to a job interview, and it was an adult job, and he was really excited about going to get it. And he was getting ready to walk out, and he didn't have a tie on. And I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Wait, you going to a job interview with an open collar and a tie? And no tie? What are you doing?" And he said, "Dad, people don't wear ties anymore." I said, "To job interviews, they do." We sit there, we talk. I finally get him to just take one of my ties. Okay, put it on, even put the tie clip on. You can tell he likes the way he looks. Okay, and he looks sharp. I mean, he's a good-looking kid to begin with, but he looks sharp. He goes off. He goes to get the interview. He gets the job. No, does he get the job because he has a tie on? Probably. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm guessing that that helped at least. But my belief is that if he walks in there without the tie, there's a very good chance he doesn't get the job. When he came back, I was teasing him about, oh, you got the job, huh? Okay. Well, good thing you had the tie on. And he tells me, Dad, well, the tie had nothing to do with it, but I did enjoy wearing it, so thank you. And he's trying to like, give me some kudos, I guess. And I said, son, let me ask you a question. The guy who interviewed you, he said, yeah. And I said, about how old was he? And he said, I don't know, Dad, probably your age. I said, wow, okay, so he's an old guy. And I said, what was he wearing? And he thought about it and he goes, well, he was wearing a coat and a shirt and he was wearing a tie, almost like he knew where I was going. I said, okay. I said, did he have a tie clip on just out of curiosity? He said, yeah, he did. Okay. And I said, did you happen to notice, anything else about him? Was it like a coat that matched the pants or was it a different color? And he goes, no, it was the same color. And I said, oh, so he was wearing a suit more than likely. And he goes, yes, Dad, he was. I said, hmm. I said, so now do you think that a guy who cares about presenting himself like that and is looking to hire somebody to represent his company, do you think that he's more apt to hire somebody who puts effort into their appearance like he does? Or do you think he's more apt to hire somebody who walks in there and clearly doesn't care about something that he clearly cares about? He's like, Dad, I really do get it. I said, good. Next time you go for a job interview, if that ever happens again, make sure you wear a tie. It was one of those nice moments, for a dad where you get to help, but you also get to make a point. But it brings up a huge thing. My son's not a slob. I mean, my son's a very well put together guy, and he does care about his appearance. He does put a lot of effort into it. He's not some, you know, sloth who just walks around and whatever happens happens. And if he has, yesterday's Cheetos hanging from his beard, he doesn't worry about it. I mean, no, he cleans himself up, gets a haircut, he shaves, and he looks good when he goes out, and he cares about his clothing and so on. But perception is reality. It always has been. It still is today. Most of you, if we were sitting here having this cup of coffee, let me get another sip of this. Yeah, there you go. Most of you, if you were sitting here with me and we were having a cup of coffee together, and I said to you, perception is reality, even still today, true or false, most of you would agree, at least in part, because it is. How we present ourselves to the world, how we present ourselves out in public, how we present ourselves to our families, it says something about who we are. It says something about how we feel inside about ourselves. And what's more than that is that it also says something about how we feel about the people we're with. Let me throw a couple things at you here, gentlemen. One of the things that I hear all the time is, well, things are not the way they used to be between my wife and I. And I hear it maybe daily. Now, there's a million reasons for that. And with everybody, every single man, there's a separate reason. Everybody's an individual. Everybody has their own set of circumstances. And there's an awful lot that goes into that. But most of the time, when I'm dealing with men in our coaching groups, I'll say something to a guy in response to that, and I'll say, "Okay, tell me about this. Tell me about what do you mean by that? Things aren't the same. She's not as intimate. She doesn't make the first move anymore. Okay, I understand that." I said, "When's the last time that you took her out, for a date night?" "Oh, we do date nights." "Okay, great. Love to hear that. So tell me about the last date night." And he's telling me about the date night, and everything's going pretty good. And somewhere in the middle of it, I don't even know why, I just stopped and I said, "You know what? Wait a minute. You told me what she was wearing." He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "She was kind of dressed up." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "What were you wearing?" And he stops and he goes, "I was wearing, pants and a shirt." "Okay. Tell me more." Right? I'm not the fashion police, but, let's get to the bottom of this. And turns out he had on a pair of, khaki pants. He had on an old polo shirt that wasn't tucked in, and he hadn't shaved in a while. I said, "You realize that your wife got dressed up for this? She put time and effort into her appearance. She did that for herself, and she did that for you." And I said, "You said, hey, let's go out for a date night. And you let her know that she wasn't worth you dressing up for. She wasn't worth you shaving before dinner. She wasn't worth you tucking your shirt in. Or, I don't know, not wearing a three-button golf shirt. Maybe wearing, a long sleeve shirt, something that you don't normally wear. You didn't do anything to show her that you made any effort to look better, to present yourself better." And gentlemen, I have news for you. Women take that as an insult to them. They think that you're dressed the way you are because you don't care. Guys, when we start to accept things like this, and we start to understand how we are actually perceived in the world, We change inside. Certain things inside of us actually start to become altered. And I want to prove this to you, and I don't want to belabor the point long. So pay attention. Let's put this down and let's do a quick little exercise. I think that you'll be happy with it. Another sip of coffee. There we go. All right. Folks, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at the different things you could be doing to present yourself differently. I got to a point a while back where my wife actually in the middle of the street while we were walking, she said, "Oh my God, stand up." And I'm like, I'm walking along. What do you mean?" She goes, "You are so hunched over. Stand up. Stand up straight." I had not even realized how badly I had started hunching forward with my shoulders. It was from, recovering from a huge surgery. It was from all sorts of physical ailments. It was, watching my step on uneven ground, and I've been looking down a lot. But the fact of the matter is that on a regular basis, I was all slumped over. I didn't even realize it. And when she said that to me, it was really embarrassing, first of all. But, I heard her say that and I stopped and I straightened up my back and I was like, wow, I'm like in it, 2 inches taller. What just happened? And I realized right then and there she was right. And I hadn't even been paying attention to it myself. And since that moment, I've been making a real effort every time I'm out, walking around, even when I'm just walking back and forth from one room to another in the house. I'm making sure I straighten up my back and put my shoulders back, and I'm working on getting my posture back. Having a horrible surgery that just destroyed me physically, took its toll. And when standing up straight hurts like the dickens, I mean, you hunch because you don't want to be in pain. But that's pretty much gone now. And now what's left is a guy who's, not as old as he looks. And so, gentlemen, it's not just cufflinks. It's not just shaving. I mean, I assume showering can just be taken for granted here, guys. I mean, if you're not showering, then we got bigger issues. We got bigger fish to fry. But it's your countenance. It's standing up straight and putting your shoulders back. Okay? I mean, it's looking someone in the eye when you talk to them. It's your handshake. When you reach out to shake somebody's hand, I mean, you know, you got to Donald Trump the guy. You got to reach out, you got to grab that hand like you're trying to send a message. You don't just put out this limp fish and like wait till it's over. All of these things matter. And you might be sitting at home listening to this going, "Oh, come on, that's what the episode's about, man, how to shake somebody's hand." And it's like, no, that's just another symptom. Look at yourself in the mirror. Let's get back to our exercise. Look at yourself in the mirror. Take stock. What did I used to look like? Do I look like someone who should be taken seriously? Do I look like somebody who might be dangerous? Do I look like somebody that someone else would come up to and ask for advice on anything? Or do I look like a broken, beaten dad who's given up and who doesn't care? You see, we've used the excuse of liberation for a very long time. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. Really? How's your relationship with your wife? How's your relationship with your kids? Are your kids listening to you? If they're not, look at you, not them. Are you giving them something to respect? Are you giving them something that they want to follow? Are you showing your wife that you care enough to spend 5 minutes? looking a little better to go out with her. Gentlemen, these things matter. We trick ourselves into thinking they don't because we simply don't have the heart anymore, because we have other issues, because we've been beaten down, and because in a lot of ways we don't care anymore. Because we know that we can get all gussied up, and we can get ourselves all cleaned up and looking good and put our shoulders back and go out there to the world and put out a firm handshake and, open doors and everything else and we know we still can end up losing. We still can get nothing in return. And so that's why, to end this, to round this out, it can't be for somebody else because it's not about somebody else. It's about us. It's about you. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? I am still here. I still matter. You know what? Damn it. I have value. Even if others don't see it, I see it. And I'm going to project that out to the world. It will start to change your life, guys. It is amazing how caring about you becomes contagious. You see, when the people around you notice that you actually care about you, that you value yourself, very often they follow suit and they start to treat you a little different and they start to treat you like you have value and they start to treat you like you matter. And that's what I'm telling you guys at the end of every episode for years now. You have value. You matter. So let's start showing that to the world. When you're done listening to this, look at yourself in the mirror. Throw your shoulders back. Button and tuck in your shirt, right? Tomorrow, start your day caring about yourself, about how you look, about how you feel. And let's start to change our own paths instead of waiting for somebody else to give us something that we think we deserve. Let's take a position of power in our own lives. And let's see what that looks like. Let's take that for a spin and see how it feels. Guys, I think you're going to like it. And I think you're going to notice that in a very, very short amount of time, that things are going to start to change for the better. Because you do matter. You do have value. And you are worth it. But at some point, you have to believe it. Until next time.